Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lena's Adventure Small Talk. I'm so glad that you came and decided to join us tonight. We have a great show tonight, a great show, and I'm so glad you're here. First, let's talk about these books, y'all. Come on now, we got Gino the Giraffe out, and we still have Christmas with Lena. It's Christmas. If you don't have these two books or the first one where it all began, please go to my website and order the books for Christmas. I'm so excited about Gino the Giraffe, so I want you all to get this book. So let's get this show started. I'm so excited. Last week we weren't here. We took a break. I hope you all got a chance to go back and watch some of the shows. But if you didn't, you can always go back and watch some of the shows. We are on Facebook, Lena's Adventures and Regina M. Alston, and we are also on Lena's Adventures on YouTube. So let's get this show started. Hello, our guest today is Latoya Brown. She's my family, y'all. I love her. She's all the way from Raleigh, North Carolina. How are you?
Hi, Sister Regina. How are you? Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. First, I got to say again, thank you, my sister Regina, for allowing me to come and do this tonight. And I also want to say thank you to Lena as well.
Aw.
So, as Regina shared, my name is Latoya Brown. I'm a wife, a mom of one, a godmother of two, and an auntie of three. I graduated from Elizabeth City State University with my undergrad, and I have also a master's degree in human services. Currently, my role is a kinship licensed social worker, and I work in Wake County Human Services, which is located in Raleigh, North Carolina. I currently have over 21 years in human services. I actually started out of college as a work first social worker, and that actually led me to become a certified substance abuse counselor. And as a substance abuse counselor, I work with pregnant parenting women. And as a result, I did that for probably about 12 years. And as a result of mental health reform, I ended up becoming a child welfare worker. I think I did maybe a couple of years with foster care and decided, okay, you know what, I want to be a stay at home mom with my newborn.
Mhm.
And I did that for probably about 18 months. Came back as a licensed social worker and placement worker for child welfare. And now, for the last 4 years, I have been a kinship licensed social worker. And in this role, I manage foster care parents who are kinship. And I also do out of county kinship placements, as well as out of state children that are being fostered by their family members as well. So that's kind of my role. And today I want to talk about kinship families and what that kind of looks like, and why we need you guys as licensed kinship foster parents. So one of the things I want to talk about is the definition of kinship. So if you look at the definition of kinship, it's kind of broad. It talks about the fact of being kin,
Mhm.
characteristics and origin having the same, as well as blood relationship. But in reality, we kind of look at like, okay, what is kinship for real? It is blood relatives like mommy, auntie, godparents. I'm sorry, mommy, auntie, grandparents,
Mhm.
um, cousins, but also close friends and family members. Like, your next door neighbor you've known all your life, but they're not blood. They are a friend of the family. That's kinship. Your church member, your neighbor, your educator in the school, those are kinship family members. Right now, the term for those people outside of blood relatives, they use the term fictive kin. And I don't really like that term fictive
Mhm.
kin, because for me, when I look up the definition of fictive kin, it's being the act of being fake. And I do know that the federal government, I went to a training about 2 years ago in Arizona. They are looking to change that term. They just haven't come up with a terminology to use
Okay.
yet, but they are looking to change that term as far as fictive kin, because as you know, the way the words play, it, can send a mixed message. But as of right now, a neighbor, a church member, a godparent, school educator, those are considered fictive kinship.
Okay.
Um, And so, for example, I'm gonna share like a situation. For me, I am a godmother, like I said, of two, but my youngest is 12 years old. And I myself was considered a fictive kin because
Mm-hmm.
he was with us for a period of time, and he is our godson. And so he is now with his grandparents, and we have a very, 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 very close relationship with them as well as him. And even he calls me Mama O sometimes. But again, because of the federal, like, they looked at that as a fictive kin role. Um, but again, they are now trying to change that. And hopefully that may, and again, it's basically just wording. It's nothing wrong with that. It's not to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, if grandma such and such decides she wants to end up being a foster parent, she has more rights than the family of the friend. It's not necessarily that just because it's fictive kin, it's whoever can be able to provide the best, the safe, and well-being of that child to be able to be taken care of. That's what
Mm-hmm.
social service are now looking at. Now, I will say social service definitely wants the children to be with family that so they can continue that network, that closeness, that bond, so they'll be able to know their relatives. But sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. So that's when they will look at, as they call it now, those fictive placements, fictive kin
Mm-hmm.
placements. um and so I will say sometimes you hear that word kinship, today's modern term, but I know people in the past heard the word being raised by.
Right.
And being raised by is the exact same thing as what a kinship person is as of now. Um, Somebody, I was, such and such was raised by Big Mama, or such and such was raised by their cousin. But again, that's a form of informal kinship placement.
Now let
And
me ask a question.
sure, sure.
I'm sorry, does a kinship today get paid?
If they are licensed, they are
Okay.
able to receive a stipend. And so it's not a big stipend, but it is a small stipend to kind of help out. But also too, if they are licensed, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to jump a little bit because that does lead into something I was going to talk about with
Okay.
being licensed. So thank you for that. I'm just going to lead into that piece. So when we have families that come in, and if they, especially if the children aren't coming in through social service, and we definitely we encourage those families to come in to their social service department and ask about becoming a licensed foster parent,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a class depending on the state that you're in. I know for us in North Carolina it's 30 hours, some states it's 20 hours. I had one state it was, I think, 35 or 40 hours. So it just kind of all depends on the state recommendations that where you're located at.
Okay.
But you get a stipend. The other benefits, you'll have a one-on-one caseworker. You'll be able to access mental health services if needed. These babies come into care. People may not realize it, but they come into care and they come in with trauma. And sometimes, especially relatives, they may say, okay, you know what, I got this, I got this. And they do have it. But, sometimes that trauma can start, it's coming out in different ways. It could come out that little Johnny being hard headed.
Right.
But little Johnny he's not actually being hard headed. He's trying to keep whatever he was dealing with that brought him in care. He's trying to mask it with something else. So that's where that mental health piece comes in. And sometimes those kin families may not know how to assess it, and or even how to get to those different services. So that's where that case manager comes in and be able to help connect those families with those services. Another piece is long-term goals. That child may decide he or she may wants to go to college. There
Mm-hmm.
is college funding that's available for a child who is in a licensed home, whether that's kinship or regular foster parents. But as long as they're in a licensed home, there is funding, and that's federal funding as well. So that's not necessarily, the amount may be dependent from state to state, but that is a federal program,
Okay.
and that could help prevent that little Johnny from having a student loan of $80,000 when he gets older.
Wow. Right.
So, I mean, there are benefits, and we are really working hard. Probably about 2 years ago, the federal government really put out these different grants, these different programs to try to boost kinship placement. And I know you guys probably heard of different programs now, like the group homes, things of that sort of starting to shut down because they're trying to put these kids in homes with their family because studies are showing that these kids are doing so much better when they're home with family.
Rosa Jackson asks, is there a fee for these classes?
No, those classes are through social service. They are through the private agencies. Um, if and You can actually Google different agencies because it all depends. I mean, you can reach out to, first of all, I would say if you have a child that's in care, I would say reach out to your local social service. There is no fee. I know for North Carolina, we call those classes MAP trainings. And I do know MAP is done throughout the state of throughout the states, other states. They also have something that's called Caring for Your Own, and that's a specific program that's for kinship families as well.
Okay, good college funding. Doris Roberts said college funding. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, it is.
So you have a story that you wanted to share. Um, you were tell us a little bit more about your godson because
Okay. So yes, so basically in his situation, what I know now that I did not know because when he came into care, I was working with Wake County, but I was working as a substance abuse social worker, and I worked with child welfare, but I wasn't in child welfare, so I didn't know all the service that was available. I didn't know all of the different pieces. So I went to court with the grandparents. I went to the meetings that they had because they had meetings such as like CFT meetings, which are child family team meetings. I did attend those as well with them. And so one of the things that I do remember now and it's different now, is if I had a known about trying to talk with them about um, the MAP training, because
mhm,
that was something that wasn't offered to them. And that would have been very helpful if they had been offered the MAP training because the child was in care at that time.
mhm,
Um, that would have just, because the other piece is now they're not able to go back because the case is now closed.
mm,
Yeah. And those were services that could have been beneficial. And what we've learned, and even when I was in foster care, working as a foster care social worker, I know a lot of the foster parents did not know that they could be a foster parent, and go through the training. I had
mm,
kinship families that had no idea that they could do that. I mean, now it is really being pushed,
okay,
really, to kind of, yeah, it's really, I mean, especially at Wake County. I mean, I am the licensed kinship worker. When we have our staff meetings, we're putting it out there. Um, so it's getting out there now. And there's a collaboration that we're working with throughout the state that we're really getting it out there now. But like I said, he's 12 years old now.
okay,
And so I want to say his case closed when he was like 3. And so
wow,
like those services, things that he could have qualified for, that the grandparents probably could have qualified for to kind of help with this along, they missed out, unfortunately, because of not knowing.
right,
Um, but yeah, I mean, because I want to say, I think he came into care. He was 9 months old when he came into care.
wow,
Yeah. And so, but I mean, he's doing amazing. He's standing taller than me. He's in football. He's
wow,
in basketball. And again, when I had mentioned about some of those benefits, if they were in the training and had completed that license program, those type of services, they would have been able to get a stipend to help with, the football camps and the basketball camps, but that's why I say now, we got to let these families know the importance of, even if they have these kids in and these kids are coming in through social service,
mhm,
becoming a actual formal kinship social worker. I mean, I'm sorry, kinship foster parent. instead of, because I mean, like I said, now a lot of people are, we have what is called informal, where they're not licensed, and so they don't qualify for it. Only they may have a social worker, but
Right.
that social worker does not provide the intense services that they would get if they were actually a licensed social worker. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sorry, I keep saying social. I'm sorry,
That's
a
right.
a licensed foster parent. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So let's see. Let me see. So if you have any questions, guys, put it on the chat because I can't see all the questions. Um, I'm just trying to see if I see any. Does anybody have any questions? So another question. The kinship.
Hmm.
I don't think a lot of people know about that because I
Hmm.
really just heard about it. So is this only for certain states or every state has this?
It is actually becoming something in all of the states. When I went to Arizona, there was a
Hmm.
representative from all the states. Now how it looks in those states, it may be different, but I will say when I went in, and this was 2 years ago, and so it is in all of states. I would just say, talk with your local social service, um, or local human services to kind of talk with them about it, especially, if you have a child that's in your home and you're a kinship provider, about becoming a licensed kinship provider.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and so what you do is, do you get called out to remove children if you have to? I mean, like, so what entails your job? Like, what do you?
So with my job, the little folks are already in care.
Okay.
And so what I do is I monitor the foster home. So when a kinship foster parent becomes licensed, a licensed foster parent, I go out and I'll do my initial visit with the family. 90% of my children are already in the home. There may be, like I just recently got a case where the child was coming into the home like within a few weeks or so, but most of the children are already in my homes. So I monitor the safety, the well-being. I connect with the social workers. I help provide resources to the families. I do groups. I do trauma focused groups with the families. Um, I actually have helped with incorporating peer-to-peer support groups for the family as well. With me, along with I believe 5 other of my coworkers that are licensed foster care workers. And what they do is they work with just the regular foster care parents. And mine is a specialized, but we kind of coordinate together with also providing additional trainings for all of the families. Um, we do have like one big forum every year, which we're looking at maybe next year doing it in the month of May, which is Foster Care Month.
Right.
Um, so, I mean, my role varies. I mean, sometimes I go to court. I haven't done it recently because of COVID, but sometimes I go to court and be a support person with my foster parents. I go to those child family team meetings. And I like going to those because the difference with a regular foster parent, a lot of times they're familiar with the questions to ask. They know what to look for when they go to court. They know what to listen for. Some of my folks, like some of my grandmothers, they're like, they never dealt with social service. They don't know
Hmm.
about going into court. So that what they hear, they don't question it. They just, okay, it is what it is. My role is to kind of help them understand, you're a kinship parent. Of course, there is a plan in place, but
Hmm.
it is okay to ask questions. It is okay to, if there's something you're unsure about, to ask. So, and then, if there are questions that they may feel uncomfortable, because I've had that too, I'll take those questions and I'll ask those questions for them in the meeting so it can be replied back so they can kind of understand it.
It's almost similar to a CASA, a CASA
Yeah.
worker.
Yep, you're exactly right. Yep,
It
just
seems like it's
in other
similar.
words, like a CASA worker for kinship families. Yep.
Oh, okay. Wow. Kay Miller says services also prevent disruption as it supports the kinship parent, child, and family.
Yep, exactly.
And then Rosa asks, is there support groups for the kinship parent?
Yes. Yep. And then we do support groups. And that's what I was talking about, like the peer-to-peer support group. Like, and this actually is for my agency at Wake County. We're actually having the kinship families along with the regular foster parents to actually kind of detail and kind of, run those group. We do help. We're going to be helping with them, but it's going to be their group. Like say for instance, once the case is closed and the permanency is granted, Wake County also offers what is called a KIA group, which is Kinship in Action. Kinship in Action, and the kinship grandparents, auntie, uncles, or whatever, they can go to those groups and get support from those groups as well.
Wow, that's awesome. So, if you had to think of a number, what's the number out here of how many relatives are, I think a lot of times relatives, they just take on the child,
Yep.
but they don't know about the kinship program. They don't know that they can go through a program and get help and get support. They just, if something happened, or the grandmother just takes the child.
Yep.
If something happens, the aunt just takes the child. How can we get this information out to people? Because I really think a lot of people, we lack, because of the lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a lot of people want to take time to find out what's available. Do you agree with that?
I do. I really do. And one of the things I'll say, it will actually start with the state and the county or slash city where, the families are located at, because it will vary from place to place. And then the other thing is, and I go back because that's, where I'm actually located at. Like with us, if it's a case where grandma, there's, social service is not involved, but grandma end up taking the child in, they can go to their local social service and they will link them up with a program called Family Support Services. And that's another informal kinship program. And now those families, they are not licensed, but but they're not able to receive a stipend, but they are able to receive their case management services. Now, if grandma gets a knock at the door from, unfortunately, a social worker saying, your daughter gave me your name for you to take little Johnny in. If you can't take little Johnny in, little Johnny going to foster care.
Mm.
In that situation, grandma can talk with that worker, or if she doesn't feel comfortable talking with that worker, reach out to the social service and say, I have little Johnny. Can you talk with me about how I can become a licensed foster parent?
Wow.
Yep.
So when you get these cases, do you get the background of what happened or why so you get to see a
I
lot of
do.
that?
I do. And one of the things too for me, and that's just, how the type of person I am, when I talk with the families, when I go in, I meet with them, a lot of times they're open to me. They'll, share with me, the child came to care because of, whatever, mom may have been using drugs, or a mom just couldn't get it together and hold her job down. They'll share that with me too. But
Wow.
But the thing is, it is a lot better than children going. And I'm not knocking foster care homes. It's nothing at all that's wrong. It's just that the difference is when you have a child going with strangers versus going somewhere that they're already connected with. Because if they're going in a regular foster home and then they have to, first of all, leave their parents, leave their school, leave their friends, leave their church home, leave their even whatever they're involved to go across town to a stranger's home
Mhm.
versus going over, and they might have to still leave at school or their friends, but at least they're going to aunt so and so or grandma so and so. But I know they know they're going to be with their families because those aunt and uncles, they're going to bring them to the family events or the social event. They still have that connection.
Right.
So that makes the difference. And like I said, it's no way that I'm knocking family foster care because it's needed. We need family foster care
Yeah.
homes. We need that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there are some of our little folks that do not have families.
Yeah.
And then some of the families may not even qualify. They may not be able to take in the children. So we still need those homes. But, again, tonight we're kind of focusing on the importance of the children staying with family.
Yeah. And we can say that because I did a show, one of my first shows, we were talking about aging out. So,
Yeah.
We do now, we started in first we were doing what we were doing. We still do things for children in foster care, but now we have to look at doing things for children who are aging out. So that's where
Yes.
the trunks come up. We do
Yep.
trunks for children who are aging out because it never stops. It really doesn't, because once they get a certain age, they still need someone to be there to support them.
And I love that idea, Regina. When I saw those on Facebook, I was just like, wow, I love that, because you're absolutely right. Because I mean, I'm working with a child who is in the 18 to 21-year-old program that's in the process of getting ready to age out. But, it's just like,
Give me
and I
their
like
name.
it.
Give me their name. Because
Now,
we're doing trunks. We're doing trunks every other month for children aging out. They need it.
so one of the things I do like that with the federal government, they have actually changed the where they're allowing the children to stay into care until 21 versus 18. So
Okay.
that helps too, because when they get at 18 and they age out, where do they go?
Where
I
they go.
mean, yeah, where do they go? Even though 21 still, but at least it gives them a little bit more time.
Right.
Because think about it, you just finished in college. Okay, now you done aged out of this program.
Where
You
am I
just like,
going?
what do I do?
And then a lot of them going over to mental health. And we're going to have my husband on one day talking about mental health because he owns a mental health agency. And that's where he get those adults, those
Yes.
because they have nowhere to go. But Rosa asks, what if the child is not kin to the adult but has a sibling in the home? Let me
Okay.
repeat the question.
Yes.
So it's what if the child is not kin to the adult but has a sibling but has siblings in the home?
So, can you ask Miss Rosa? Is it that she's asking as far as what services, or is she's asking can they be considered kinship? What is it she's
Well, I
asking?
guess she's saying, what if the child that is going into the home is not akin to that adult that's taking care of them,
Uh
but
huh.
has a sibling in the home?
Would they still be able to be a licensed kinship? Yes, they will be able to. Yes, because of even though they're not kin, they could be considered like what they consider that fictive kin, which is still kin. I mean, it still would fall under like a special request, but it's like it's and I keep stuttering over that word 50 can, but that is the word that they are using still. But that's what it would be considered as fictive can.
Fictive. Okay, I never
Yep.
heard of that. And you guys are not, you don't like that word.
Well, and I guess for me, I don't, because that was what I was called when we had the meetings with my godson, because I was godmother. There was no blood relatives or anything. It was I'm godmother. And so, like for example, when we signed paperwork or whatever, I was signing as Latoya Brown, fictive kin, or fictive
Oh,
relative, or something like, it was something fictive. And I was like, and so when we had the meeting, I remember the very first one, my husband and I went together. And so I was like, fictive. So when I looked, I mean, I kind of knew, but when I looked it up, I was like, fake.
it's like a fake.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I said
Ricky
for me.
Ricky Freeman said, "Good information, Toy. I don't believe many people know about this program. I'm telling you, before I knew what you did, and you told
Uh,
me kinship, I had never. I've been in the foster system, and I never heard of kinship.
wow. Yeah.
I
And I
mean, I
mean,
think a lot of people haven't, because it's not a word that's used. All
yeah.
you hear is foster care, foster parent, foster care. You don't hear too much people saying kinship.
Yep. And then, like I said, what you would hear in the past was, such and such is raising somebody,
Right.
their grand they took them
Well,
in
my
and they
grandmother
tutored
raised me,
them.
or
Mm-hmm.
my
Yep.
uncle raised. Yep.
Because another, personal story as far as with me, because just like in my situation with my mother and my mother and aunt both, they were placed with my auntie, which and it wasn't that they were placed, they just ended up going because my aunt's mother passed, so she ended up staying with my great aunt.
Okay.
And then with my mom, my grandmother, they were all in New York, and she ended up wanting to come down south, to get out of the New York lifestyle or whatever. So my mom she ended up staying with my auntie, my great aunt as well. And growing up, that's what I always would hear. My mom and my auntie was raised by, we called it Aunt B.
Wow.
I got into this here role here as a kinship worker, and I'm like, I had kinship placement right in my own eyes, right
Mhm.
underneath my, right there.
Right, and didn't even know. I mean,
Exactly.
back then they didn't call it that, and
Mhm. Yep.
it was
And
just
it was an informal thing because it was just, my aunt, her dad, decided that was a better opportunity. And my mom felt there was a better opportunity to come down south. And, it was informal because social service wasn't involved or anything. It was just informal. But again, it was never considered a kinship. So it was my aunt B raised my mom and auntie.
wow. So now, if you're a kinship, can you adopt those children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
so
You can, and this is actually federal, not just North Carolina. They can either, depending on what the plan may be, because of course, the ultimate plan is reunification, but if reunification is not available or not able to happen because of whatever reasons, um, there is option to adopt, guardianship, or custody.
oh wow,
Yeah. So
wow.
yeah, they do have those opportunities.
Well, this has been so informational. I mean, this is great. We might have to do a part two on this, and maybe get a parent. I mean, get a kinship foster parent on here to share too, because a lot, like we said, I'm getting a lot of comments. A lot of people just don't know about a lot of things. This is
Wow.
why these shows are so important. We call it small talk. We talk about foster care and different things, but the only way people can know about things is to get it out here.
Yep.
And you might not know someone, so sometimes people don't share. But if you share things, somebody might know, or they might have someone. Ooh, I'm sorry, I came. Oh Lord, I think I got off. Hold on.
You still here?
Am I on? Can you see
Oh,
me?
you still here? Yes, ma'am. You
Oh,
still here?
I can't see me, but okay. But I don't know what happened. Hold on, let me see if I can find me. There I go. Sorry, I did something to the computer, but yeah. So this is so informational, and this need to be talked about more. Now let me ask you a question. Because we only have a couple of minutes. What
Uh,
do you all have to bring these people together? Do you have big events for these kinship people to come together? What do you do?
well, because of COVID, things have changed so much.
Right. Yeah.
But we've done like several things, and we're actually looking at trying to do things. Hopefully, we were looking at next year, but I mean, with things starting to pick up again, we're not sure exactly how that goes. But I will say, like in September, Wake County, we work with the informal kinship department, the family support unit, and we do a big celebration for the kinship families. Of course, the last 2 years have been virtual because of COVID, but and like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years, but the other 2 years, what we did was we had an event, and it was, I think both, well, no, both of those were on Friday nights then. And we had dinner, we had presenters, the families were able to come and dress up, and they really enjoyed it. And also we do, and I think I had shared earlier about we sometimes do events with the regular foster parents. And so, like I will say, probably about 2 years ago, we ended up doing this, and the families they loved it, and I enjoyed it because I had fun help with planning it. We did it was like a masquerade gala,
Mm-hmm.
and we used the Cotton Club theme. And they came, they had their masquerade mask on, they dressed up, they had their dresses with the frills on the end and the tucks with the black and white colors, stripe pinstripes and all. And they just had a good time. They had fun. They were able to dance. We had food. It was a celebration to say thank you and to show our appreciation. Um, and then we do like the foster parent forum. Of course, the last 2 years have been virtual, but before, what we'll do, we were doing them in April, and we have all the foster parents, regular foster parents and kinship foster parents to come, and it was a training event. And we provided, had different trainers to come and speak about different topics. And I do know at one point we were getting some topics from the foster parents, like, what is it that you want to hear? What is it that you feel like you need education around? And so those were some of the things that we've done. Like right now, we're walking in Christmas parades, trying to recruit foster parents. And we've actually brought in foster parents and kinship families to walk in the parades with us.
Well,
So,
I know someone that's on here, Keisha Elliott. She goes to my church.
uh-huh.
She's raising her nieces, and it's so ironic because she's from North Carolina. So,
Okay.
yeah, she's originally from North Carolina. So, would you have people from up here to do things with you all down there, or you have to
Um,
be,
what you mean as far as like volunteering to do
yeah, to
things?
be in the parades and do things like that? Doing things, like be a part of some of the kinship things down there, or you have to be in your own state.
Well, I would do is I would just run it by my supervisor, who would probably talk with the program manager, and just kind of see how that would look. But like when we do parades and stuff like that, I mean, like I said, I can't speak for sure on that, but I know like in the past we've had high school students to walk with us. We had people from different churches to walk with us. Because it wasn't like, because we couldn't do children in care. We couldn't do like, like if a foster parent was in it, we couldn't let them bring the foster children in the parade because of confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
But we were allowing, we had people to come in and walk with us. So in a situation like that, we would, of course, have to get permission just to make sure it's okay and that, every confidentiality and all that is not broken. But that would definitely be something that we could look into, because that's a form of recruitment. Because, like you said,
Right.
that's a kinship family member who
Yeah.
is, showing, okay, you know what, kinship works. It works.
Right. Awesome. Some Kay Miller said community members can also provide support during virtual events.
Okay.
So yes. Natalie Harrell said, Lena, this is great information. Thank you, Latoya. I mean, this has
Thank you.
been
Thank
great.
you.
I mean, we have to do this again because, like I said, this word kinship is not heard of a lot. And people need to hear this word more versus foster care. No, I'm not down in foster care
Yeah.
because that's what I do. But that kinship is when family members also, have an important role. And I'm glad that they gave them a name,
Yes.
instead of just saying my aunt raised me or no, you my kinship, and it can be help and there's things available for you out there.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
don't think a lot of people realize how much is available out there to help. Not only support groups, but um, just all kind of things available. Um, People are sponsoring people's children for Christmas.
Yes.
Just all the needs, and that's one of the things I love about what we do. We do pajama drives. We do the trunks now. We do stuffed animals because when the children leave to go to a home, it's nice for them to have something to grab on and hold on to.
Yep.
We do, just suitcases. We tired of seeing children going to homes with trash bags.
Trash bags. Yes.
So,
Yes.
I don't care how many people out here are doing things for foster care. It is never enough. You can still do more. It's enough for everybody to, pitch in and help. So, we need more villages. We need more people like you. Now, what's your title again? So if anybody would be interested in social work and they wanted to look into doing something like that.
So my role is kinship licensed social worker.
Okay, kinship, like, so okay.
Yep.
So you're a social worker, but you have that title kinship in front of it.
Yes, because I basically specialize with the kinship population.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And Regina, I just want to add real quick too, because some people don't even think about it.
mhm.
I mean, we definitely thank everybody for, when they are sponsoring our little folks with the Thanksgiving, Christmas, book bags, pajama, that sort of thing. But also too, we just also like to encourage people, if they can, also think as far as other times, because those are definitely good times as well to be able to sponsor children. But we also, like you said, with the kids coming into care with trash bags and having to go from home to home with those trash bags, those suitcases are definitely some. I mean, I just want to piggyback off what you were saying about with the book pajamas and the suitcases. Those things are so helpful and so needed for these little folks when they're coming into care.
Yeah,
And
and
even
that's
if they're going next, even if they are going to grandma, you don't want them going to grandma's house in a trash with a trash bag, because again, that's another trauma for that child.
yeah.
Especially those teens. Those teens, I mean, it's already trauma that they got to be removed from their home. But just thinking they're going to another home with a trash bag with all their belongings.
Yes, and that's why I don't like to beg or say please, because the body of Christ, we don't have to beg. But I really do ask people to, be really intentional about what you give to. You
Yeah.
know, we go out here, we spend money on clothes, this, that, and there's so many people in need. And that's why it doesn't matter if I get a donation or not. I'm going to make sure that what I'm giving these children, they're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's why I write the books. I write the books to sell the books. I don't keep any of, I do want to make this clear. I keep nothing from what I do. Everything goes back into Lena's Adventures. And that's why it's so important. Go to my website, buy the books. Because if you buy the books, it's going back into foster care. It's going back into giving. It's going back to, helping somebody or helping a child. So I'm just thankful that you came on. We might have to do a part 2 one day,
Right.
but because it's not enough time. But I just appreciate you being here, and this has been a great show. We had a lot of people on that said this was very informational,
Thank
and
you
I want to
guys.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everybody, this is my sis. I adopted her and her family. Her
Yes.
her sister is one of my close friends, and I'm her sister's baby godmother, and I just love her mom. I just put myself in their family.
Yeah, and we accepted her with open arms. We love you. Look, we love
and
you.
and I thank you for coming on and sharing, and it was great. So hopefully you all will watch the show or share it with somebody that did not get to see it, because these shows are they're not long, but they're very informational and they're very important. And you might know someone who are dealing with this, or you need to share this with them. So that's what why I did this. I'm not a type of person that like to be in the front. Not at all. So I am really stepping outside of my comfort zone, but I think this show was needed. So I thank you, thank you, thank you. And I thank everyone for joining. Next week, you guys, we will have Minister Lena Lassiter. She will be on talking about grief for the holidays. You don't want to miss that show, because there's so much going on, and in the time that people are so depressed and unhappy is during the holidays. And she's going to come on here and she's going to be talking about grief. So please tune in next Tuesday. And then 2023, I mean, yeah, we 2022, I'm saying. I said I'm already a year ahead.
Look, they're
We
going fast enough, sis.
we got some good stuff coming up. You guys don't want to miss it. And we got some good things that we're going to be doing. So please, thank you guys, and continue to share, continue to support Lena's Adventures. I thank you all for all who always support Lena. So you all have a great day. See you next Tuesday. Thank you, Latoya.
Thank you guys. Have a good
Okay.
one.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.